Hello guys, welcome to this video. So in this video we will talk about how to build out a complete Google OAuth login and logout system in PHP and storing the details in MySQL database once the user has granted permissions, and we will be displaying the details of the user, something like this: the display name, email address and the profile picture, and a simple logout button. So you will basically see I'm currently logged in inside the application, and if I go to the home page it will automatically redirect me to the profile page because it already detects that I'm currently logged in. So it is storing the information in sessions in PHP. So let's suppose if I close this tab right here and reopen the tab, it will automatically detect. If I go to the home page of the application, it will not show the login page, it will automatically detect I'm currently logged in. That's why it will redirect me to the profile page and show these details to me. So we are actually using exam control panel, which is actually, we are locally developing this application, Apache control panel. We are using PHP myadmin, which is actually a interface by which you can actually create tables. So if you see, we have the users table right here, inside which, if you see, if I show you the code right here in the config PHP, we have this table out there, users DB. And if I go to the users table, you will basically see this is actually the structure. We are storing the ID, which is a primary key, Google ID, display name, email, photo, and timestamp. And there is one record out there. You will see coding section, display name, email address geekygautam1997 @gmail.com. This is a profile photo link that we are storing it. This is a Google ID. So all this information we are displaying it on the screen. And let's suppose if I click the logout button, so what will happen? It will redirect me to the login page. So now once again, if I log in, it will redirect me to the profile page. Let's suppose if I log in with a different account, like right here, let's suppose I go to the same application but log in with a different browser. OAuth, sorry, let me put the correct spelling, OAuth login. So this is actually the interface that you will see once you run this application, login with Google. So if you're running it for the very first time, then it will show you this account screen. Choose an account right here. Here you can actually select your Google account to actually log in. Click on the button to actually log in. Grant the permission project want to additionally access. Click on continue. So once it does, you will basically see welcome Gautam Sharma, your email address, this one, this is the profile picture. And if I show you the database, the table, so there is a single record. If I refresh now, there will be a second record which will be added, which is, you will see display name Gautam Sharma, email Sharma, you will see this is actually profile photo, the link is actually been inserted, this is actually timestamp as well. So automatically whenever a new user logs in, the database will get a record inserted. So this is actually the application, guys, we will be building in this tutorial. So if you are watching it for the very first time, please hit that like button, subscribe the channel as well. And basically all the source code is given in the description of the video. If you need the full source code of this project, the full source code is given. You can directly purchase it from my website procodestore.com. I have given the link. After you purchase it, you will actually redirect it to Google Drive, where you will actually download the full source code files here. This is the full source code files. Full documentation will also be available. So let's start building this project. So the very first thing, guys, I will do right here, and you do need this software, exam control panel, if you're developing PHP applications. So just type on Google, download exam control panel. So it's a cross-platform software. It's available for Windows, Mac and Linux. So depending upon your operating system, install it and simply start your Apache server, which will run on port 80, and MySQL, which will run on port number 3306. So go to PHP myadmin, and right here in the SQL statement, we will actually be creating database and table as well. So first of all, what I will do, by default all the PHP applications are located in the C directory. Whenever you install exam, there will be this exam folder created, and the htdocs folder, htdocs, you need to go to this folder and now create your directory. So if I open command line here, I will make a directory here which is Google login project. I will cd into this directory, Google login project, open it inside VS Code. So you can see I have opened this. So simply I just need to uh, require a package which I will install it using Composer. Composer is a dependency manager for PHP applications similar to NPM even when it comes to Node.js, or pip when it comes to Python. So Composer I have installed. If you see, I have installed it inside my machine. So we can run it, this command Composer, and require Google/API client. So we will be using the Google OAuth login system. So for that we are using the Google API client, and we need to require it. So on the left hand side, guys, it will first of all create the composer.json file, and then it will actually install the modules. It will create the vendor folder in the left hand side. All the modules will be installed. So once it's installed, you will get a notification that your modules have been installed. So it will hardly take 5 to 10 seconds depending upon your internet speed. So just wait for it to finish. So in the meantime, guys, what we can do, we can actually create our database and table. So if you go to phpMyAdmin, go to the SQL section, and right here we will actually be creating a database. So there is a create command, create database. We will be creating a database called as Google login project. This will be the database name. Put a semicolon, and then we will use this database, which is Google login project. Put a semicolon, and then we will create table. So create table followed by the table name, which is users, and set of parentheses like this. This is actually syntax, guys, if you don't know about SQL. So right here we will be giving an ID here, which will be the primary key. So ID int, integer, it will be auto incremented, automatically it will be incremented, and this will be the primary key. This will be unique, so that you can actually target elements by using the primary key. And then we have the Google underscore ID. So here this will be varchar, length will be 255, and it will be not be null. It should not be null. It should have some value. So this Google ID will be coming from once you log in. This will be coming automatically. Then we have the display name of the user. Again, this will be varchar 255. Then we have the email. Again, this will be varchar. So just make sure that you put a comma every time, the record. And then we have the photograph of the user. Again, this will be varchar 255. We will storing the link of the photograph. And lastly, we will store the timestamp created value. Whenever the record is created, this will be the default, the current timestamp. Timestamp generally means time. So whenever the record is created, we store the time as well. So that's all, guys. This is actually the SQL code, and there is actually a go button out there. If you see, click on that, and now your database will be created, which you see Google login project. Inside that we have a simple table which is users. If you see the structure of the table, we have ID, primary key, Google ID, display name, email, photo, created underscore at. So we have actually created the database and the table, which is very easy. Now if I see you, basically if I show you the it is installing. You can see now all the packages have been installed. You will see this autoload.php file. We just need to load this file, So right here, just create a index.php file. This will be the starting point of the application. So right here, we will actually be having HTML right here, and we'll say PHP OAuth login and logout system in using MySQL. So this is actually the title, and after this we will actually be having a simple heading to the user that welcome to PHP login system. After this heading we will actually have a simple button where we will redirect the user to the login page. So this will be very simple, and anchor tag. So we will say to the user, go to login.php file, and we will simply say login with Google. So what it will does, guys, if I open this now, localhost, Google login project, there will be this thing. If I go to this script doesn't exist, we do need to create it. So as you can see, we are clicking it, it's clickable link, and if we just need to create our login.php script. And also, guys, before writing the script we also need to config some values. So just create a config.php file. Here we will be storing all the constants which will be required for the application, all the values. So just PHP, we need to first of all require our vendor file. So dot vendor and autoload.php. So we are actually requiring the base library that we have installed in the vendor folder. We are requiring this file autoload.php, which will actually load all the libraries for us. So we are loading it in the config.php, and we need to define some constants. Define the constants for the client and the database. So the very first constant we will define is the Google underscore client ID. So for the time being, I will just make sure that I give these values: Google underscore client secret. So all these values, I will show you how to get these values. And the third value is Google redirect URI. And then we have the database host, db underscore host. So by default this is localhost because we are developing it on the localhost environment, that's why it is localhost. Then we need to give user password and database name. So this needs to be defined, Then we have db underscore user, which will be root by default if you haven't changed the settings. And then the db password, this will be nothing, the default password. And then we have the database name. So database name we have given, which is Google login project. This is my database name. So we have defined all these constant, guys. Now we need to get the Google client ID, client secret, and redirect URI. So you actually need to get these details in Google Cloud Console once you actually create a project. It's very simple. Let me show you. So go to your Cloud Console, and just inside the menu APIs and services, just here APIs and services, go to credentials, and here you need to create a OAuth client ID, and right here we need to give it the application type will be web application, and authorize JavaScript origins because we are developing it on the local host, so HTTP localhost. And authorize redirect URI. So redirect URI, so this simply means that whenever user grants the permission where the Google should redirect your application to. So I will first of all, this is actually my base URL, which is localhost Google login project. So first of all I will paste this right here. and then followed by callback.php. So I will just create this file callback.php. So this will be the callback URL. So I will simply copy this and click on create. So it will give me the client secret and client ID. Redirect URI, I will simply paste it. This is the same redirect URL that I've given it in the settings. So now this client ID and client secret will be different for you. So don't copy my information, just use your information. So then we have the client secret as well. So that's all that we need to do, guys, in this file. Simply close it. Now what we need to do, we now need to go to the login.php script. Once we go to the login page, so that we need to say php, and then we need to again require that file, which is config php. So we are requiring it, and then we are invoking this client. We need to pass the information. We need to say new Google underscore client. So we now need to set some information, guys, right here, which is set the client ID. This will be coming from Google client ID. Then we have to set the client secret. So again, this will be coming from Google client secret. And then we need to also set the redirect URI. So this will be Google redirect URI. So then we need to add some scopes, guys. What sort of information that we need to request from the Google API. So we need to set the scope. It's very easy by using this method add scope, which is available in the PHP API of Google API client. So you need to have in single quotes, just mention it. So we need to add the scope. We also need to request the profile information, which is the display name, profile picture. For that, we also need to add the scope of profile. So after you do this, it becomes very much easy. We need to construct a URL, which is auth URL. So we will say that client create auth URL. So we are creating a auth URL, and then we need to redirect the user. So we'll use the header function. We can say location, and then we will just join it by using wilterfab auth URL. And then put a comma, and we need to now pass a constant here, which is filter sanitize URL. And then we need to also exit the program. So this needs to be filter where. So that's all that, guys, you need to do here. And if I just refresh here and go to this page, so you will basically see it will redirect me to the login page. It will show you the list of accounts right here. You can select it. So let's suppose if I select this account and click on continue, we will now see it will redirect me to this callback.php script, which I don't have right now at this moment. You can see this code parameter is passed right here in the URL. This is called as authorization code. So in the OAuth, Google OAuth flow, whenever you first of all grant the permissions to login, this authorization code is generated. Now we need to get the access token by exchanging this authorization code. So now to get the access token, guys, we need to write our callback redirect URI script which is called by PHP file. So we now need to first of all get that authorization code. We will basically check if authorization code exists in the URL or not. So first of all, we also need to start the session. So session underscore start as well. And then we need to require that config.php file again at the top. So after you do this, guys, we now need to create the client ID. We need to create the client. So for creating the client, we will simply say new Google underscore client, and then we need to basically say set the client ID. We will say Google underscore client ID. So we just need to repeat this information once again. We need to set the client. We need to set these three things: client secret, and we also need to set the redirect URI. So after this, guys, we now need to check in the if condition that if that parameter is present in the URL, which is the get, I can simply say if this parameter exists, which is the code parameter. If this exists, in that case, let me just parenthesis close this. So right here, if this is available, then we need to access the token, access token, exchange it with the access token. So we can create a variable token, and there is a method available right here which allows you to get the access token, fetch access token with authorization code. There is also a fetch access token with refresh token as well. So if you got a refresh token, then you can even get it access token. So for the very first time, we need to fetch the access token with authorization code that we got. We'll actually use this method and actually pass our authorization code. So we'll say pass this code. So now we actually got this new, we can initialize the service, new service OAuth2, and we will actually pass the client right here as a parameter. Then we will actually get our Google user, guys. So now to get this Google user OAuth, and there is a method out there which allows you to fetch the user info get. So this is actually the method to actually fetch the profile information about a specific user using this access token that we got. And after this, after we get the user information, we now need to connect to the database and store this info. Store the info of the user. So we will simply say MySQL new MySQL and we will basically pass the DB host, DB user, DB password and DB name. So here we will simply check that if the connection has not been successful, if any sort of error takes place. So if MySQL has some error connecting the database, we can simply die and print out message connection to database failed. So put a semicolon, and after this If the connection is successful, then we will simply check if the user exists in database in table or not. So for doing this, we will simply make a SQL statement. MySQL I will say prepare. So prepare, and here you will simply select all the users, select star from users where Google ID is equal to question mark. So here we need to put the placeholder, we need to bind it, bind param with the generated ID, user underscore ID, Google user dash ID. So this is, we need to put this dollar sign right here. So after we pass the user ID, we need to execute this command by using the execute method, and then we will basically say result and statement get the result. So this is actually the function that you need to get the actual result from the profile of the user. So it will be stored inside this result variable. Now we need to actually get the user. So what we can say, result and fetch an associative array of the profile of the user, which will actually contain the display name, profile picture, and the Google underscore ID, all this information. So here we will simply have a if block right here. If the user information exists, then in that case, and else. In the else block, we can simply redirect the user back to the home page, and then we can simply die. So if the user is successfully found, and then in that case we need to insert them into the table. So we'll say prepare. You can simply, if the user already exists, then we will update the information. We will set the display name question mark, email to be question mark, and photo to be question mark, where Google underscore ID is equal to question mark. So now we need to bind all these parameters. So how we can do that? So there is a bind param method. So dot s. So we need to first of all bind it with the name of the user. So Google user. So if you see, basically we have this Google user variable that you see that we got in the associative array. We are using it, and one such value of this associative array is name. So we are actually initializing it to the name. Then comes Google underscore user email. Then comes Google user picture, and then again Google user ID. So after binding all these parameters, guys, what we need to do, so just make sure you write it. Paste it. So now you can see that now it is not having some problem. So after you bind this, we just need to execute this statement. So statement execute. So else, if the user doesn't exist, in that case we need to insert it in the database. So for inserting it, we have again this method MySQL I prepare, So we will have the insert statement, insert into the table which is users, and we will put as parentheses right here, which is Google underscore ID, display underscore name, email, photo. So here we need to give the values as well after you inserting which values. So we will simply say the values, which is question mark, question mark, question mark. So these are placeholder values. Put as so insert. So put a single quote right here, semicolon right here. That's all. And we just need to put a dollar sign right here. So we now need to bind the values, so we can simply say bind params SSS. So the very first thing, which is the Google underscore ID, Google, the name, sorry, name, and Google user email, and Google user picture. Sorry, this will be Google underscore user. So that's all, guys. We have successfully binded all this. Now we just need to execute this statement. So now we just need to have this user object that we have. So we just need to initialize the values. The ID will be equal to statement. Whenever the record is created, the ID will be insert underscore ID, and then the Google ID, which will be Google user, so display name, so we are actually, you can see ID, Google ID. So two more times what we can do. So I think if any sort of error, take Google user, sorry, put a semicolon right here, and then right here. Now correct. So here we need to change this one to email, and this one to photo, this one to picture, this one to email. So here, guys, you will see that we have initialized it, this user object. We have given it 5 properties: the ID, Google ID, display name, email, and photo. So these are all the same properties. We are storing it in the database. If you see the structure right here, now we just, if I think it should do it. So right after this curly bracket, we need to initialize the session variable. So we will basically be creating a session variable of user underscore ID, which will be equal to user ID, whatever is the user ID, and also another session variable which will be the actual user, and it will be same in the user variable that we have, which we constructed in the previous step. We will initialize it to the session variable, session user. You can see user variable that we have, it is having it associative array, and then we are initializing it to this like this. So So now guys, what we need to do, so after this we just need to redirect the user back to the home page once they are authenticated. We can say header location index.php and exit out of the program. And also right here, if the authorization code is not initialized, in that case there will be a problem. So in that case also we can redirect the user back to the index page, index.php. This is rarely will happen in any case if the information is not correct. This condition 90% will not take place. Out of 95%, this condition will be true. Authorization code will be there. We will be getting the access token with it. Then we'll initialize the Google OAuth2 client. We will get the user information. Then we will simply check if the user already exists or not. If the user already exists, then we will simply update the information right here. If the user doesn't exist, then we will insert this information into the users table and initialize the session variable as well. This is quite a very simple logic guys that we are developing it. Now we just need to go to the home page, which is index.php, and based upon if the user exists or not, we just need to show the profile information details. So right here, if I show you, so in the index.php page, right at the top, we just need to add a PHP block of code. So here we will simply check if the user is already logged in or not. So right here we will simply say if is set $_session variable user underscore id exists. In that case, user is logged in. So we'll simply say the user variable will be equal to session user. In the else block, the user is null. If the user doesn't exist, then in that case user is null. If the user ID doesn't exist. So we have made this in at the top of the thing, a very simple logic. And now based upon that, we can inside our HTML, we can just wrap everything in a if condition, that if the user exists, in that case colon. In this way you can write PHP if conditions, conditional logic. So we can even have a else block as well, else, and then we can also have and if semicolon. So in this way you write if and else statements inside PHP, mixing up with HTML as well. So now we need to dynamically basically write here. We can actually write a very simple PHP line here, PHP echo HTML special characters. We'll use this function because we are fetching the data from the database, from the table, and we will simply say right here user display underscore name. So if you just refresh now guys, what will happen right here, just see. If I go to the home page, so localhost Google login project, if I just browse it, if I need to just delete everything here, delete. I think I'm not running this application. So now it is running it, I think, Google login project. I think session, I think in this file, if you see at the very top, we do need to start the session as well, guys. So right here, at every file, you need to start the session. You need to call this function session start, and also we need to require this config file as well, config.php. This file we need to require it. That's why it was not working. And again, just cross check in every file at the very top. We need to start the session. So right inside your callback.php file as well, if you see at the very top, we need to start the session. This is your callback.php file. And now in the login.php as well, we need to start we are requiring this, you can see requiring config.php. So now it looks good. And if I try to run this application, you will see I'm not currently logged in. The table is empty. If I show you the record, nothing is present in the table. So if I click login with Google, it will actually say to me uncaught MySQL statement bind parameter cannot be passed by reference, call back by 69. On line number 60, there is some kind of error. Line number 60. So it exactly pinpoint Google underscore user ID, Google username. Just wait, guys. Let me just pinpoint that insert. Uh, let let me paste this. Paste it here. Now I think it looks correct. There will be the full source code is present, guys, with full documentation. You can purchase it. The link is given. And if I try to run this once again, the number of variables must match the number of parameters in this prepared statement in. Okay, I think I made a mistake right here. So what I will do is that I will simply copy paste this whole source code. Sometimes in coding, guys, mistakes may happen. So what I will don't waste your time. The full source code is present in the description. You can directly purchase it. So once we do this, so if I show you the table right here, you can see one record has been successfully entered. You will see the ID is one, Google ID coding Siksha, and this is actually the email address and photograph. So it is already been inserted. So and then we have this file right here. Let me see. We should print out the information. This is the index, the home page of the application. Let me paste it. So if you see, guys, basically there is a logout. If I click the logout button right here, this script doesn't exist. So we just need to create a simple script right in the root directory logout.php. So here this very simple script, guys, it will actually log out and destroy the session. It will delete this information. So it's very easy. 2 lines of code. We need to first of all start the session, and then we need to destroy it. So session destroy, this is a function, and then we need to again redirect back to the user home page and exit out of the program. So now if you just see, click on logout, you will be redirected back to the home page. So now if you redirect welcome coding Shiksha, your email address, profile picture, and if I close the tab right here and reopen this application, it will already detect that I am currently logged in. It will automatically show you the login page, Google login project. You will see that. If I click logout, now if I go to the same page, it will automatically detect I'm currently logged out, so it will show me the login page. So this way you can see that, guys, you can try out with anything. If I again try out with different browser, Google login project, click, you will be redirected to the login screen where you can select your account, click grant the permission, and you will basically see welcome, email address, profile picture, logout button. If I see you the table as well, one record, if I show you where is my app, so two records I think will be inserted. Sorry, I think yes, this one Google login project users, two records you will see. Harshad, you will see email, this is profile picture, so two records are present right here. You can log out, again log in, so you will see that. So it's a very simple application, guys. The full source code is given in the description. You can directly purchase it from my website procodestore.com. So full documentation you will get, full support you will get after you purchase it. The link is given in the description. So you can see that it's very easy, and in the you can see that in the index.php we are actually displaying this display name, we are displaying the email, we are displaying the photograph, then we have the logout button. In the else block, if the user is not logged in that case we'll show you the login with Google button right here. So conditional logging, depending upon whether the user is logged in or not, we are using it, mix it with PHP and HTML. So thank you very much, guys, for watching this whole video. Thank you very much. Please hit that like button, subscribe the channel, and I will be seeing you in the next video.